Hello, good morning, my dear students. It's a bit unfortunate that we cannot meet today synchronously, so I'm gonna try to explain everything through this video asynchronously, and I hope that next week when we meet synchronously via Zoom or Google Meet, we can talk more comprehensively about the topics that we're going to have in this class. So, as you may already know from the name of the course that you have been enrolled to, this class is called Introduction to Linguistics. Yes, Introduction to Linguistics. So, in this video, I'll try to address the notion of linguistics. So, we're going to try to comprehend the idea of linguistics, what linguistics is, and then we're going to try to go through some topics that we're going to have in this course. Okay, so first of all, linguistics. What is linguistics? I usually refer to it as the science of language. And why is it the science of language? Because when we study linguistics, we observe how languages behave. And by languages, I mean things like English, Indonesian language, and other languages. So we're going to try to see how in this case English behaves and how it has some significant characteristics that makes it unique or special compared to the other languages. And then in linguistics, we also experiment with things pertinent to languages. So, for example, when we learn about English, we're gonna notice that there are some features of it like sounds, like words or phrases, or how we arrange words and phrases into sentences, or even how we organize sentences into paragraphs. And we might also study things related to the meaning of the sentences or the paragraphs that we are uttering or we are writing. And in that case, we study everything pertinent to those in linguistics. So that's why I call it the science of language. And in this class, we're gonna dig deeper into the idea of linguistics in terms of how it's related to language teaching, because after all, in the future, you are uh, trained to be English teachers, right? So we're gonna try to see how linguistics can be implemented into language teaching and how the insights into this field of study can better inform us as future teachers to teach our students. And that's what we're going to do in this class. And then the second thing is about the topics that you might encounter in this course. And there are some quite new topics I believe that you might have not learned in the past. And those topics are things like phonetics and phonology, and then lexicogrammar and syntax, and then semantics and pragmatics, and we also have sociolinguistics and psycholinguistics. Okay, so let's discuss them one by one. I know that they might be quite new, yeah. You might think that they are quite new terms for you, but don't worry because we have some I think enough time to study all of those topics comprehensively. So in the future, when you encounter those terms, I believe that you'll be familiar with them, yeah, as you go through this course. Okay, so the first one is about the phonetics and phonology. Phonetics and phonology are studies about the sounds of language, or in this case, the sounds of English. So when we communicate in this language, usually we'll produce sounds, right? So when we speak, we articulate some sounds. And the study of the sounds of the language we're speaking is called phonetics and phonology. So we're talking about speech here. We're talking about spoken language, right? So that is phonetics and phonology. And that's why in phonetics and phonology we'll have the so-called phonemes. And phonemes are the smallest unit in language because it's actually speech sounds. So the other word for speech sounds is phonemes in phonetics and phonology. We're going to learn more about that. And you might also learn about phonetic transcription because we use phonetic transcription in transcribing the sounds of our language into written form. And we're gonna go further about phonetic transcription by having some homework later on at the end of this video. Okay, so there will be some homework about phonetic transcription that I'll explain at the end of this video. And moving on from phonetics and phonology, we have lexicogrammar and syntax. Now, what are lexicogrammar and syntax? Lexicogrammar and syntax are studies about structure. And when I'm talking about structure, I mean the structure of words or phrases in language. So for example, you might notice the differences between Indonesian language or Bahasa Indonesia and English in the way we organize sentences and words and phrases into certain structures. So you might notice, for example, that in Bahasa Indonesia or in Indonesian language, we say mahasiswa yang sangat rajin. So you have the noun first, and that is mahasiswa, right? And then you have the adjective later, and the adjective in this case is rajin, right? That's why you have mahasiswa yang sangat rajin. And then we might compare it with English, for example. In English we say, or we use different structure, and the structure that we use would be a very diligent student, right? A very diligent student. You might notice the difference in the structure. In the structure of English, especially noun phrase in English, usually we put the adjective first and then followed by the noun, right? The adjective is diligent and then the noun is student. So that's why we notice these differences in the structure, and that would be studied in lexicogrammar and syntax. And after getting through the structures of language, next you're gonna learn about semantics and pragmatics. Semantics and pragmatics. So those are the studies of meaning. So you're gonna learn how we can distinguish between the meaning of words, phrases, and sentences, and even different meaning in context. That's pragmatics. So semantics is the study of meaning without context, while pragmatics is the study of meaning with context. Don't worry, you're gonna learn about that more later on, yeah? Okay, now, phonetics and phonology, lexicogrammar and syntax, and semantics and pragmatics, together they make the so-called theoretical linguistics. So theoretical linguistics is the branch or the part of linguistics that examines the description of a language. And by description, I mean the features of language, because you have sounds, you have structure, you have meaning of the language, right? So that is theoretical linguistics. And after theoretical linguistics, we have another part called applied linguistics. And we're gonna focus on applied linguistics by scrutinizing two branches of linguistics. Those two branches are, the first one is sociolinguistics, and then the other one is psycholinguistics. Now, what is sociolinguistics? Sociolinguistics is the branch of linguistics that studies language variations. So I believe that you all already know that English develops over time, right? In the past, we have the only British English as the historical, form of English. In the past, there was only British English, but now we have various forms of English. We have American English, we have Australian English, we have Malaysian English, and we have countless forms or countless dialects, or you might say countless varieties of English. And you're going to learn about that in sociolinguistics. You might also learn topics like language policy or how we, you know, how we discuss politics that is related to language. So yeah, politics is actually related to language because you have language policy. Yeah, that's sociolinguistics. And then after sociolinguistics, last but not least, we have psycholinguistics. Now, what is psycholinguistics? Psycholinguistics is the branch of linguistics that scrutinizes the way we organize language in our thought. So it's the study of language and thought, or language and mind. And it's very important in language teaching or the theories of language acquisition, because we have so many theories from the field of psycholinguistics that can help us sort of conceptualize how children and how adults learn or acquire language. And that's why, as future teacher, when you learn about psycholinguistics, you will be better informed teacher to teach your students. So those are pretty much everything that we're going to learn in this course. Let me review some of the terms for you. So there are terms like phonetics and phonology, lexicogrammar and syntax, semantics and pragmatics, sociolinguistics, and psycholinguistics. Okay, now for the last part, I'd like you to do some assignments. There are 2 chores that you're gonna need to do at home, and those are very important for you to do at home because later on, next week, we're gonna discuss those 2 things further in our next meeting. Alright, so the first assignment, I've posted our syllabus in our e-class, and then I'd like you to go to that e-class and find the syllabus, and please have a look at it, study it carefully, and if you have any feedback to the syllabus, please write it in the Google form that I've provided to that syllabus. Alright, so read carefully the syllabus that I've posted in our e-class, and then give some feedback if you have any by writing in the Google Forms that I've provided. That's the first chore that you're gonna need to do. And then the second chore is I'd like you to do an independent study, independent learning at home. And the topic that you're gonna need to study is phonetic transcription. Because as I mentioned earlier, next week we're gonna have phonetics and phonology as our next topic. So at home, I'd like you to study what is phonetic transcription or what phonetic transcription is, and then I'd like you to have a look at some standard English dictionaries like Oxford or Cambridge or Longman, and then you can read the phonetic transcription page if it has any. If it doesn't have any information page on phonetic transcription, then you can try to search for, you can look for a word in the dictionary, and then you can read that on that page where the word is located. Usually it has some information about the phonetic transcription of the word. And then I'd like you to practice reading those phonetic transcription alphabets in the dictionary. And by practicing reading phonetic transcription, you'll gain deeper understanding about phonetics and phonology, especially how to use it or how to use the 2 fields practically in our language learning and language teaching. Yeah. So learn and practice reading phonetic transcription. That's the second chore that you're gonna need to do at home. And that's the end of my video for today. I hope that you get better understanding about linguistics, and I hope that next week you'll come to the class well prepared with the two assignments that I've provided and I've told you to do. Okay? So I'll see you again next week.